Hello, this is Linda, and today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite books that I was involved with, and I'm actually the co-editor with Susan Schaefer on the Nonprofit Consulting Playbook. And in this book, we have winning strategies from 25 leaders in the field. We interviewed a number of successful consultants, and there's a lot of wisdom in this book, but I'm going to read you one of those articles that I shared myself. And that is, do what you love and the money will follow, maybe. So I'm going to put on my reader so I can read this chapter. It's a very brief chapter. So I'm going to read this to you. It's in chapter 11 of this book. You'll find several articles here from different consultants. But mine says, shortly after I started my business, there was a lot of buzz about a book that claimed that if you start a business or follow a career path that you are passionate about, you will be successful. Well, maybe. There are a lot of people who are passionate about nonprofit work, but are not successful when they try their hand at consulting. In high school, when we all had to fill out those career surveys, I don't know if they still do that, but mine always suggested that I was suited best to be a detective or a reporter. And I always knew that there were two things that I didn't want to be, a banker or a teacher. Yet my first career was none other than banking. And as you'll read later in this article, my latest career is pretty much teaching. So much for knowing it all when you're young. But I did know I wanted to be successful. As others in this book have said, you have to define what success means for you. Is it money, travel, the opportunity to be independent, setting your own hours, a passion for a cause? I knew which of these was most important to me, and I would probably list them in this order. Feeling good about what I do, independence, travel, setting my own hours, and finally the money. So when I first started my business, I had a clear path in mind. I was not going to do capital campaigns. Why? Because there were more experienced consultants and bigger firms already doing those. I was going to follow my passion. I was going to help smaller and newer, unsophisticated nonprofits start a development office, run a capital campaign, or run an annual campaign and build their boards. Those were the things that I thought were needed in the community. And that went fine for a while. It allowed me independence and the ability to set my own hours, not too much travel at first, and not a lot of money. Although money was the last thing on my list, reality quickly set in, and I realized that if I was going to maintain an office, pay staff, and market my business, pay my accountant and state registration fees, and actually take home some money, I did need to rethink my services. Fortunately, at about the same time this realization set in for me, a number of my clients did find themselves in need of capital campaigns, but could not afford to pay the big guys to come in from out of town and run these small campaigns. So I started off with a few small capital campaigns, under $1 million each typically. Before I knew it, I was running multi-million-dollar campaigns and making a lot more money. I was soon gaining a regional and then a national reputation, so I got to travel, cross off two of my goals. And guess what? I was still passionate about what I was doing and very much independent. I could schedule my own hours, although there were a lot less hours on my own to enjoy. After about 5 years in business, I felt my company needed to grow to be successful. I started bringing in subcontractors to help manage the client work so I could focus more on the marketing. I carefully tracked all my sales and the sources of clients. Besides word of mouth, the marketing effort that brought me the most clients was speaking, followed by networking at the Association of Fundraising Professional meetings. So I expanded my speaking and writing engagements and joined several AFP chapters. Through this networking, I found a colleague whose goals were very similar to mine. We both wanted to expand our businesses, become more focused on capital campaigns, do more teaching. So we formed a partnership, initially focused on doing workshops about capital campaigns. We began getting more campaign clients and hiring more subcontractors to help with the campaign. At one point in time, we had about 6 offices, still using subcontracted associates to run regional offices. And we were on the road a lot doing workshops and presentations, consulting and working with associates to market our business. Another reinvention was in the horizon, however. My next rebirth came after my husband decided he was retiring and wanted to move across the country from Pennsylvania to Nevada. I was game, but I knew that I needed to get some clients out west. So while I was building a new office in a new part of the country, my business partner decided she wanted to focus her energies in another direction. So we amicably dissolved our partnership. We're still friends, by the way. For a while after the move, I maintained an office in Pennsylvania, left a car there to use when I was working, and kept my staff in place. Then all my staff members decided they would rather work at home. So we pulled out of the office lease, distributed the office equipment among the staff, and saved a bundle of money. Expanding your geographic scope can be fun and exciting. And if travel is one of your goals, this is a great way to do it. The nice thing about consulting is that your home base can be anywhere. I spent the next 7 years consulting and teaching before the next change occurred. So what was the next reincarnation? Well, suddenly within the space of about 6 months, my associates started dropping like flies. Illnesses, spouses retiring, and a series of similar events left me alone. And guess what? I loved it. For the first time, I was flying solo and marketing only to the clients I wanted to work with. I found I could spend more time writing, teaching, and actually taking some time off to tour around my new home state, beautiful Nevada, with its mountains, lakes, and deserts. The final rebirth, maybe. This past year, when I wrote this book, I turned 70. That was 12 years ago. But children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and now great-great-grandchildren are all asking why I'm still working. Simple. I love the work, and I'm still reinventing my company and myself. For the past several years, I've been focusing on writing and teaching. Remember that thing that I never wanted to do when I grew up? Teaching. I have now presented at conferences in 5 countries, almost every state in the United States, and I've written about 40 books. When I wrote this book, it was a dozen. Now it's closer to 40, including my first novel. I am editing and helping other authors get their books published, and I still am doing that. And I love helping other authors get started. It's one of my favorite passions. And I'm mentoring colleagues. Right now I'm mentoring a young woman in Nigeria who has a tree ministry. And because I'm absolutely nuts about trees, I'm really enjoying that mentorship tremendously. So how does this rebirth stack up against my first set of goals? Well, I still set my own hours. If I want to take a day off in the middle of the week, and I've mentioned in this book, driving to Death Valley, Mesquite, Laughlin, the Grand Canyon, or Oatman, Arizona. Now my days off are spent a little bit differently since I'm now living in Missouri. But I can do it. I still work probably about 60 hours a week if you count all the mentoring and helping other authors get published and writing on my own. But I can still write on Saturday, Sunday, whenever I'm not busy consulting. So I'm still independent. I now take on only clients I really want to work with and with projects that will allow me more time to write and teach and mentor, because those are the 3 things that I'm spending most of my time on now. And am I doing what I'm passionate about? Absolutely. Adding to the body of knowledge for our profession and leaving a legacy for the future? A definite yes. You can't get any better than that. Travel, well, I've been to Egypt, Bermuda, Canada, Mexico, and most of the United States. And it's a great opportunity to meet people meet new people, experience a different culture, and sell my books and take a little mini vacation at the same time. So money, well, writing still isn't keeping bread and butter on the table, but who needs bread anyway? So I hope you enjoyed this book. I think it's one of the my favorite books when we put this together, the Nonprofit Consulting Playbook. And I hope you'll take a look at that if you are thinking about becoming a consultant. And we have a lot of practical advice in here besides the dreamer big like me. but there's a lot of practical advice in here on starting your business and being successful, marketing your business. And I do have a course also on becoming a consultant. So I hope you'll check out the course and the book. Thanks so much. Bye.